So I'd just like to welcome you, Laurie. For those of you who don't know Laurie's had a big impact on my thinking and on the thinking of Elementrix. We're very proudly a partner with Laurie, who's developed the Syzygy strategy to as a framework to design and implement digital learning. Laurie's got a very long list of credentials. As soon as you say, Laurie was a part of the DBS transformation, people go, wow, that's pretty good. And among others, worked in the banking industry, worked with in the fast food industry. Recent case was Hong Kong airports. And Laurie, your mission is to help organizations become effective in the world of digital learning. So I'd just like to thank you. And just for those of you who know, Laurie and I, we enjoy each other's company. Sometimes we disagree. Laurie, do we ever disagree?
Yeah, pretty often, I think so. We seem to have opposite views, but that's good. It's embracing diversity.
I've had to unlearn a few things and in the process, but so look, let's just talk about the world of digital learning. And before we introduce your framework to help people understand. So you've worked in many countries. I need to keep up: Africa, Asia, Middle East, and many regions, you should say, UK, USA, Europe. And, we've got many organizations seeking to get into the world of digital learning. What are the main issues that you find that they face in their journeys of implementing digital learning?
I think some of them are a little bit of a carryover from the general learning, but the first one would be, which I still think we don't quite get right in learning in general, is they don't begin with the purpose. They don't begin with the business problem to solve or the organizational problem to be solved. So it's not about digital learning, actually. It's really, what is the business problem, organizational problem you're trying to solve? And you should begin with that end in mind. And then I'll just keep it a high level for now, and we can drill down into each one further. The other one is, as you said, is thinking that not really having a clear outcome, and you can't measure the outcome because you don't even know what it was, because you never set one in the beginning, then it all becomes about the platform. I've seen an instant where it took 2 years and the client has still not decided on what platform to use because they're spinning their wheels trying to decide what technology they want. But the main reason they can't decide is because they don't really have a clear organizational purpose. So the second thing is, don't think that the technology or platform is the solution. It's not. It's an enabler. And the third thing is getting stuck in the old ways of learning. So we still have people thinking that the only way and the best way to learn is in a classroom. So obviously COVID's thrown that a little bit, but it never was the only way or the best way. Definitely it's one of the ways, and we shouldn't lose it. So I think it's letting go of the old and reimagining learning now with the technology that's available and the sophistication of our audiences, because often people will use the learners as being not open to change, which is not the case. I found actually the learning function is less open to change. So I think those are the three things. Yeah.
Yeah. We at Elementrix, we talk about the digital depression curve, right? So they're moving up, they're evaluating the technology. And then what eventually happens is they launch it and they hope for the best. At first, there's a honeymoon period, and then it moves down the slippery slope of low adoption. Has that been your experience as well?
It is, when it hasn't been thought through very well. So now we're just sharing from what can we learn from the mistakes that we all make, including, we've all made mistakes. So that's exactly what happens if it hasn't really been tied to a real concrete business outcome, and you haven't designed it with technology as an enabler as part of a total experience.
Okay. So what impact does it have, in terms of there's the learning outcomes they want to achieve, and the impact on learners, and the impact on the reputation that digital learning has in an organization?
Yeah, so I think the impact, and I want to break it up into 3 stages. So you've got your design development stage, and then when you deploy it, and then when you're ongoing, maintaining it, sustaining it, and what outcome is it having. So I think what happens is that there's a lot of time, money, and energy spent on something that then the problem becomes adoption and deployment if it's not done well. So if you haven't designed and developed it, effectively, using human-centered design, all the things we're going to talk about, if you haven't designed, developed it well, then when you deploy it and launch it, you might have that, that peak for a while, but it doesn't become a partner, and you don't become a partner with the business or your organization. And then finally, the biggest test is to see, is it improving people's performance, which in general, I'm generalizing now, but a lot of organizations are not looking for impact. They look at how many users they've got, but not that many organizations are looking at what is the impact on performance.
So share with us your Syzygy framework and why you've come up with it and what it is.
Well, I find it interesting because some people think it's complicated, but it's not at all. So if you think about 5 Ps, and like in Singapore, you say 5 pieces, if you want 5 pieces of chicken. So 5 Ps, and it's in this order that you should think about at design, develop, and deploy. So the first P is who your people, not just your target audience, but who are all the stakeholders around your target audience. So number one, people that need to be engaged and involved in the workplace. So don't think about learning now. Think about in the workplace. If I'm a relationship manager in a bank, I'm not an island on my own. My rest of my team, my manager, the product specialist, there are many people that I need to be successful. So think about people as an ecosystem. The second one is, what is the purpose? What are the KPIs, the tangible outcomes that we're trying to achieve? And even if we just use the Kirkpatrick model, what's your level 4, 3, and 2? Meaning, what do you want people to achieve, do, and learn? And how does that align to the bigger organizational strategy? And then number 3 would be, what is the process? What is that whole experience that you're going to create, which is, online, the experience. What am I going to be doing? What am I going to learn and being able to do and achieve? So that's the process. So that's my experience, the journey as the learner. Then the 4th one is the guiding principles. So do we want this experience? So we worked with Nando's, for example. So Nando's had to be quite fun and lively and highly interactive. Those were our guiding principles. But for a private bank in Singapore, we could still make it fun and engaging, obviously, but it also had to be seen to be very future focused. Otherwise, we would lose our audience because they were really concerned about how the industry is changing with automation in banking. And the last one is, what are the platforms? Are we going to go online, offline, both? When do we use online? When is it best to use offline? And when are we going to use virtual classroom or live classroom versus? So the last one is platforms. So at any point in time, I don't get lost because as I hear my clients or people that I'm working with, I know exactly where they are. Often people mix up one with the other. They're talking purpose, but actually they're referring to the people. So it's just a really good mental framework to have when designing, developing, and deploying and assessing.
So it's a pleasure to work with you. Just for those of you who are interested in the Syzygy framework, Elementrix works with Laurie on projects to help organisations become competent. We work with L&D departments to help them learn how to design and implement digital learning. And we've got a very effective action learning program around that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, George.